Ladies and gentlemen, let me be frank. We stand at the intersection of politics and culture, where leadership must adapt to inspire not just the hearts of the people, but the imaginations as well. And so, it's time I turn to a source of wisdom, strategy, and raw emotional power that has profoundly shaped my worldview. Japanimation, or as the aficionados call it, anime. Now, I've been called a lot of things in my time, but one thing you cannot deny is that I am a man of culture. And let me tell you, few mediums capture the human experience, the highs and lows of ambition, love, and betrayal, quite like anime. You see, in the world of anime, characters don't just fight, they philosophize. They don't just lead, they inspire revolutions. And they don't just exist, they embody ideals. So, as I embark on this most noble of tasks, assembling the ultimate cabinet of anime greats, I must establish a few criteria. My choices reflect power, intellect, and emotional resonance. These are characters who could thrive in the cutthroat arena of governance, who understand that life, like anime, is both a battlefield and a work of art. Of course, I also must consider aesthetic appeal. Because let's face it, charisma and charm can move nations as much as policy can. So buckle up. This cabinet is not just about governance. It's about rewriting the rules of power with a little help from some of Japan's finest creations. And if you're not already an anime fan, well, as the kids say, omae wa mu shinderu. You just don't know it yet. Even in politics, the hardest decisions are often about exclusion. There were countless candidates who could have claimed a seat at the table, each bringing their own unique flair to the administration. Here are a few names that nearly made the cut. Figures who, for better or worse, remain just outside the inner circle, though their shadows linger large. Gendo Ikari, Neon Genesis Evangelion, a master of manipulation, a man who bends others to his will without so much as a flicker of remorse. A tempting choice, I admit. But even my administration has limits, and there's only room for one manipulative megalomaniac. Besides, his obsession with uniting the human soul might clash with my more, shall we say, terrestrial ambitions. Still, there's something admirable in the cold efficiency of his vision. Waluigi, Super Mario Universe. Waluigi, a wild card, a true outsider in every sense of the word. Now, I know he isn't from an anime, but he's got the height, the flair, and that air of simmering grievance that would make him a formidable politician. But while he's an intriguing figure, his talents are, let's say, a bit too unfocused for my tastes. Waluigi thrives in chaos, but a cabinet needs cohesion. Still, one cannot deny his raw energy, his ability to make a scene. Perhaps an ambassador or lobbying role could suit him better. If nothing else, he'd make quite the distraction when I need to shift the news cycle. Satsuki Kiryuen, Kill la Kill. Few figures embody leadership as fiercely as Satsuki. With her commanding presence and unshakable will, she's the kind of person who could whip even the most disorganized faction into an unstoppable force. But let's face it, Satsuki doesn't follow orders. She gives them. She's a queen without a crown, and placing her anywhere but at the head of the table would be an insult. Still, her blend of charisma and iron resolve makes her a figure to watch, an ally to fear, and an opponent to never underestimate. Haruhi Suzumiya, the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. Haruhi is a force of nature, an unstoppable whirlwind of charisma, ambition, and let's be honest, pure chaos. They seriously considered her for vice president, but let's face it, putting Haruhi in a position of power is like handing a loaded gun to a toddler with a sugar high. Fascinating to watch, but catastrophic in practice. Perhaps in another universe we could have built something truly extraordinary together. So, without further ado, let me present my dream cabinet, plucked from the annals of anime. Each member hand-picked, not just for their abilities, but for their potential to change the game entirely. Because governing isn't just about competence, it's about the story you tell and the characters you place on the board. Let's begin, Vice President, Belle Dandy. Ah, my goddess. Now, I know this isn't really considered a cabinet position, but indulge me for a moment, would you? The Vice President is the conscience of the administration, the steady hand that keeps the ship from capsizing during turbulent waters. That's why I've chosen Belle Dandy, the goddess of order and compassion. She radiates calm and brings an aura of trust wherever she goes. The perfect counterbalance to my more, shall we say, pragmatic tendencies. Belle Dandy is a figure of unshakable morality, and her ability to diffuse tension with grace is unparalleled. But don't mistake her kindness for passivity. This is a woman who understands balance, the give and take of power. Chief of Staff, Balalaika, Black Lagoon. She's Doug Stamper, turned up to 11, a walking monument to discipline, loyalty, and calculated brutality. If Stamper is the scalpel, Balalaika is the hammer, and sometimes, my friends, you need a hammer. Balalaika is a woman forged in fire, literally a veteran of the Soviet-Afghan War. She carries her scars like medals, a reminder of battles fought and won. Her time in the military wasn't just service, it was survival. And that mindset carried over into her leadership of one of the most feared crime syndicates in the world. She doesn't flinch, doesn't hesitate, and doesn't lose. That's the kind of reliability you want at the center of your administration. Doug Stamper may have been my right hand, but Balalaika? She's the steel spine of this administration. And trust me, you'd rather have her on your side than against you. For Attorney General, I've chosen Chihaya Ayase from Chihaya Furu. Justice, much like the game of Karuta, is a battlefield of precision, intellect, and instinct. To stand as the Attorney General, one must possess an unrelenting passion for fairness, a commitment to the rules, and a burning desire to see truth triumph. And damn it, we need to hype Chihaya Furu. Chihaya Ayase is not just a competitor, she's a force of nature. Her approach to Karuta, combining raw determination with a deep respect for the art, proves she has the perfect mindset for the legal arena. She doesn't just memorize, she internalizes. She doesn't just play to win, she plays to elevate the game itself. Imagine that energy brought to the highest levels of justice in this country. Secretary of Labor? Madoka Kaname. Puela Magi, Madoka Magica. The Department of Labor requires someone who understands sacrifice, someone who embodies the quiet resilience of those who toil in anonymity. Madoka Kaname is my pick because she knows better than anyone the cost of hard work and the rewards of selflessness. She's the patron saint of labor, the one who ensures no one is left behind. Madoka isn't just about ideals, she's about action. Her willingness to shoulder the burden of others is a lesson for every worker, every citizen striving for a better life. Under her leadership, the department would become a sanctuary for fairness and opportunity. She'd advocate tirelessly for the invisible hands that keep this nation moving. And let's not forget her quiet but indomitable strength. When the chips are down, Madoka rises to the occasion, no matter the cost. Director of the CIA and head of Black Ops, Rin Tosaka. Fate stay night. The Central Intelligence Agency is the nervous system of the nation's security, a place where information flows like rivers into a single, unified current of power. Rin Tosaka is my pick to direct it, and let me tell you, no one wears the mantle of control and subterfuge quite like her. Rin is pragmatic, ruthless when necessary, and operates with the precision of a gemstone cutter, a trait that mirrors her mastery of magic. And the CIA doesn't need a blunt instrument, it needs a strategist, a leader who can read the currents of the world's shadows and turn them to her advantage. Rin would orchestrate every covert operation like a perfectly cast spell, balancing risk and reward with devastating effectiveness. And let's not overlook her charm. Rin knows how to play the game, whether through alliances or coercion. In her hands, the CIA won't just gather intelligence, it'll create it, shaping narratives and bending the global stage to her will. Her ability to strike the perfect balance between elegance and force will keep every adversary second-guessing their next move. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Kiss Shot, Acerola Orion, Heart Under Blade, Monogatari series. Housing and urban development is about more than buildings and infrastructure. It's about creating spaces where power thrives. And who better to oversee such a monumental task than Kiss-Shot Acerola Orion, Heart Under Blade, the King of Vampires herself. Also known as Shinobu Oshino, she has lived through centuries, watched civilizations rise and fall, and understands the importance of environments that cultivate strength and resilience. Shinobu doesn't just inhabit spaces, she dominates them. Her charisma is overwhelming, her presence impossible to ignore. She'll make public housing feel like palaces and urban sprawl like an empire's heart. After all, what is a city if not a reflection of its people? And who better to inspire awe and ambition in those people than a vampire queen with a regal air and a terrifying sense of authority? And let's not forget her adaptability. Shinobu has reinvented herself countless times over the centuries, much like any great city must. With her in charge, HUD will be a place where innovation meets tradition, where the grandeur of the past informs the potential of the future. She'll ensure every citizen, from the homeless to the wealthy elite, knows one thing: their place in her meticulously designed world. And they'll thank her for it. Borders are Lion Iwakura. Borders aren't just physical lines on a map. They're psychological, digital, and cultural boundaries that define who we are and where we belong. That's why Lane is my choice as Borders are. She's not constrained by the tangible. She operates in the spaces between. Lane doesn't just understand the concept of borders. She is the border. In a world of increasing digital interconnectivity, control over information is just as crucial as control over land. Lane can monitor every signal, every whisper, every pixel that crosses our borders, ensuring nothing and no one slips through unnoticed. She'll rewrite the very concept of border security, turning it into a web of surveillance so intricate even the idea of crossing it will feel futile. And let's not forget her unnerving calm. Layan doesn't need to intimidate, her very presence unsettles. In her hands, borders become less about keeping people out and more about reminding them who holds the real power. She won't just protect our nation, she'll integrate it into something far greater. And isn't that what governance is all about? Secretary of Energy Megumin Konosuba. Energy is explosive, unpredictable, and above all, the spark of creation and destruction alike. That's why I've chosen Megumin, the Archwizard of the Crimson Demons, as Secretary of Energy. There's no one who understands the sheer raw potential of energy better than someone who dedicates their entire existence to channeling it into one devastating moment of power. Megumin's single-minded devotion to explosion magic might seem unorthodox for this role. But think about it. Energy isn't about restraint. It's about potential, about channeling everything you have into a single, glorious burst of achievement. That's what Megumin brings to the table. She sees energy not as a resource to conserve, but as a weapon to unleash, an opportunity to dominate. With Megumin in charge, the nation's energy policy will have one guiding principle: go big or go home. Renewable resources? She'd turn the sun into a permanent explosion generator. Fossil fuels? She'd find a way to detonate them for maximum efficiency. Nuclear power? Let's just say the fallout would be entirely in our favor. She'll make sure we're not just energy independent, we'll be energy untouchable. Secretary of Defense. Griffith from Berserk. When it comes to national defense, there's no room for sentimentality. It requires a leader who understands the chessboard of war, a visionary who sees not just the battles, but the grand strategy. Griffith is that man. His mind is a fortress, his ambition a weapon sharper than any sword. Some might call him ruthless. I call him effective. Griffith's band of the Hawk conquered the unconquerable, uniting warring factions under his banner. He sees people as pieces on a board, each with their role to play. It's this cold precision that makes him the perfect choice to oversee our military. But Griffith is more than a strategist. He's a symbol of ascendancy, someone who clawed his way to the top through sheer willpower and brilliance. His name alone inspires loyalty or fear. Both work just as well in ensuring victory. With Griffith at the helm of defense, the nation will be untouchable. Enemies will hesitate, allies will admire, and every step we take will bring us closer to a future where power and security are absolute. Secretary of Education Mio Akiyama, K-On. Education is the foundation of any thriving society, and the one who oversees it must command both respect and a certain relatability. Mio Akiyama has both. On the surface, she's quiet, unassuming, even timid. But beneath that shy demeanor lies a steel resolve and a creative brilliance that inspires those around her. You see, Mio understands the importance of balance, discipline and creativity, structure and spontaneity. She knows the value of hard work, but she also knows how music, art, and human connection can transform a soul. That's the kind of influence I want shaping the minds of tomorrow. And let's not forget, her moments of flustered charm will make even the most hardened bureaucrat let down their guard. Mio doesn't need to raise her voice to command a room. Her presence alone speaks volumes. Secretary of State, Johann Liebert, Monster. The role of Secretary of State requires elegance, charm, and the ability to wield soft power like a scalpel. Johann Liebert is all of that and more. A man who sees the world not as it is, but as it could be. If only everyone were brave enough to let go of their illusions. And contrary to the opinions of those who judge him too harshly, Johann did nothing wrong. He is a man of vision. Diplomacy isn't about treaties and handshakes, it's about bending the will of others without them realizing it. Johann doesn't just negotiate, he transforms. He's a master of persuasion, able to make you believe his ideas are your own. Nations will tremble, not because of threats, but because Johann will have them questioning their very purpose. That's true power. With Johann at the helm, the State Department will be less a bureaucracy and more an instrument of inevitability. He doesn't just resolve conflicts, He makes sure they never arise, as everyone will already be playing his game without knowing it. And isn't that what diplomacy is all about? Secretary of Commerce, Nami, One Piece. Commerce is the lifeblood of any nation, and it demands someone who knows how to navigate both calm seas and turbulent waters. Nami, the Straw Hat Crew's resident navigator and de facto treasurer, is my choice for this role. She's cunning, resourceful, and above all, profit-minded. Nami's sharp instincts for negotiation and trade are unparalleled. She knows how to turn a handful of berries into a fortune, a skill that this administration will put to good use. But what sets her apart is her audacity. She doesn't just follow the rules of the game, she rewrites them. Under her guidance, our commerce policies will be bold, ambitious, and unrelenting in their pursuit of wealth and opportunity. And let's not ignore the psychological edge she brings. Nami knows how to get what she wants, whether through charm, intimidation, or sheer intellect. She'll ensure our nation not only competes on the global stage, but dominates it. With Nami at the helm, the tides of trade will always turn in our favor. Press Secretary, Hollow the Wise Wolf, Spice and Wolf. The press secretary isn't just a mouthpiece for the administration. It's the voice of authority, the whisper of reassurance, and when needed, the bark of dominance. Hollow the Wise Wolf is all that and more. She's clever, charismatic, and endlessly adaptable. In a world where the media is as much an adversary as an ally, Hollow is the perfect counterbalance. You see, Hollow isn't just wise, she's cunning. She knows how to twist a phrase, how to balance truth and deception so skillfully you won't even notice. The press will hang on her every word, charmed by her wit and disarmed by her playful demeanor. She'll turn hard questions into opportunities and scandals into victories, all while making the press corps think they're the ones winning. And let's not overlook her presence. Hollow commands attention with an air of mystery and power, never letting anyone forget they're dealing with a force of nature. She doesn't just address the media, she dominates them. Every press conference will be a masterclass in misdirection and control, leaving critics scrambling to catch up while she stays 10 steps ahead. The administration's voice will not only be heard, it will be revered. She'll tame the wolves of the press with a knowing smile, leaving them wondering if they're the ones being hunted all along. And there you have it, an administration forged from the finest minds and most indomitable spirits that anime has to offer. Now, I know some of you might raise an eyebrow at a few of my selections. Perhaps Griffith's unconventional methods might make you uneasy. But remember this, politics, like anime, isn't about comfort. It's about results. Governance is an art form. And with a cabinet like this, you can rest assured that every stroke of power, every decision made, will paint a masterpiece. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a cabinet meeting to attend. After all, these legends may inspire, but they still answer to me.